Wonderful good evening, everyone. Nice to have everybody as we are learning at a time when everybody's busy. Everybody is busy. It says, there's a Sefer Hasidim that says about Parshas Vayikra, about Kachim. It says the world doesn't learn much Kachim. All the yeshivas, except for Brisk, learn Nashim, Nezikin. So he says Kachim is a meis mitzvah. It's a bigger Indian to learn. And the same thing is before Pesach. Everybody is so busy. So to come and learn before Pesach is especially special. And great to have all you wonderful people joining us, including my Anytime Kalashin YouTube viewers. We are holding by Ton Rabbanan. We're holding 10 lines from the bottom of Samachei Amid Beis, and we're going to be dealing the first part of the shir with this controversy, the Tzedokim, the Baitusim, who said that the Omer is not from the 16th of Nisan, the day after the first day of Yom Tov. They translated Menachos Daf literally as the first Sunday of Pesach, which would mean that Shavuos would always fall out on a Sunday. So, Ton Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught, Usmartem lachem, you should count for yourself, Shetei svira l'kol echad ve'echad. There's a mitzvah of counting the Omer on every person. We're going to see soon. We're going to get our Omer charts, and we're going to start counting the Omer. Mimachos HaShabbos. Now, Mimachos HaShabbos is an enigmatic statement. It could mean the day after Shabbos, which is Sunday, or if it means the day after Yom Tov, which is the 16th of Nisan. Mimachos HaShabbos, says the Gemara categorically, it means Mimacharis Yom Tov, day after Yom Tov. Oyeina ela l'macharis Shabbos Parashis. Maybe it means the day after Sunday, the first Sunday of Pesach. So now the Gemara gives us many reasons how we know that it's not Sunday. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, Hari Omer Tisperu Chamishim Yom. You should count 50 days. Now actually it's not 50 days, it's 49 days. But it means you should count towards the 50th day, which was 49, because the Shiva Shavuos is 49 days. It says Tishbur Chamishim Yom. It means that you should count to the 50th day. Kol Svira Shat Sefer Lo Yivu Ela Chamishim Yom. So that would be true if it's always from the 16th of Nisan. So it's always 50 days, 49 days from the 16th of Nisan. But the imtime in Mamacharis Shabbos, so then when Pesach falls out on Shabbos, so then from Sunday, it's from the 16th of Nisan, it's 49 days. But if Pesach falls out on Friday, then from the 16th of Nisan it'll be 51 days. And if it falls out on Thursday, from the 16th of Nisan, it'll be 52 days. Now, the Gemara is going to say later, who says you should count from the 16th of Nisan? That's going to be the Gemara's kasha. But v'im time in Mamachas Shabbos Bereshis, pa'amim shata moitzi chamishim ve'echad, u'pa'amim shata moitzi chamishim ve'shnayim, it'll be 52, chamishim ve'shloisha, if it's Wednesday, it'll be 53, chamishim ve'arba, chamishim ve'chamisha, and chamishim ve'shisha. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, you don't have to come on to that drasha. Hari Uaymer Tisper L'cha, Tisper Lach, Tisper Lach, you should count yourself. It has to be a count that's determined by human beings. Svira Tluya Bebezdin, count that's determined by Bezdin. That, when you count from the 16th of Nisan, that's determined by Bezdin. Yatzis Shabbos Bereshis, Shabbos Bereshis is not determined by the Kiddush HaChodesh of Bezdin. Shabbos is always the same from the beginning of time. Shetzvirasa b'chol adam. That could be counted by anybody. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Rabbi Yossi says, it says Menachos HaShabbos. It means Menachos Yom Tov. It means from the day after the first day of Yom Tov. Atay Menachos Yom Tov. Oyein elam Menachos Shabbos Bereshis. Amarta v'chi nema Menachos HaShabbos shebesoich HaPesach. If Menachos HaShabbos means the day after Shabbos, how do you know which day after Shabbos? It doesn't say Menachos HaShabbos shebesoich HaPesach. V'aloi nema elam Menachos HaShabbos. And it could be the Kol HaShana Kula Malei Shabbos. Say a B'daik, then you'd have to figure out Ezer Shabbos. So Menachos Shabbos must mean from the day after Yom Tov. Furthermore, V'oi Nemer Shabbos L'mata, V'nemer Shabbos L'mala. It says Shabbos by the Omer, and it says Shabbos by the Shtei Alechem on Shavuos. Mala Halon, it's done on the Regel, on Shavuos. Utchilas Regel, in the beginning of the Yom Tov. Afkan Regel, it's Yom Tov Utchilas Regel. Now, if it means Menachos HaShabbos the day after Shabbos, that's not necessarily in the beginning of the Yom Tov. Reb Shimon Elazar says another drasha. Kasev Echad Aimer Sheishis Yomim Teichel Matzos. That's a very strange pasuk. 6 days you eat matzos. That's extremely strange. 6 days. What do you mean 6 days? Pesach is 7 days. So Kasev Echad Aimer Sheishis Yomim Teichel Matzos, and the Kasev Echad Aimer Shivas Yomim Matzos Teichelim. You eat 7 days. HaKetzad. How do we reconcile that? Matzah she'iyata yochel oichlo shiva min hachodesh. You can't eat it 7 days from the new crop, because on the first day of Pesach you can't eat the new crop because it's before the Omer. Ata yochel oichlo shishi min hachodesh. You could eat it 6 days, but that's only if you learn Menachos HaShabbos is on the 16th. If you learn Menachos HaShabbos is on a Sunday, it's not always that you're going to be able to eat 6 days from the new crop.
What's Pashup Shad in the Pasuk?
Huh?
What's Pashup Shad in the Pasuk Sheishas Yom Tov?
It means besides the day that we say Be'erev Teichel Matzos. Now, Miyoim Aviachem, from the day that you bring it, Tisperu. So now, if that's what the pasuk said, Yochel Yiktzar, I might think you could harvest the Aimer, V'yavi, and bring it. And when you want to count, you could start counting. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to count right away. Ve'masai sheyirtza yispar. Who says that it has to be at the time when you're bringing the Aimer? Talmud Leimer mehachel chermish bekameh, when the sickle starts to cut the harvest, tachel lispar, you should start counting. Imahachel chermish tachel lispar, I might think yochel yiktzar v'yispar, you harvest and you count, and then you could bring the Aimer when you want. Ve'masei sheyirtza yavi. Talmud Leimer miyoim aviachem, that you count from the day that you bring it. So you see that you have to bring it when you count. I might think that you harvest and count and bring it on the day of the 16th of Nisan. Talmud Leimer Sheva Shabbos is Tamimas Tiana. It has to be, the counting has to be 7 perfect weeks, 7 whole countings. Whole countings mean you have to start in the beginning of the day, which is in the night.
Where are we up to now?
We are in the middle of Samach Vav Amud Aleph. Emasai atamoitzi Sheva Shabbos is Tamimas. When do you have whole 7 weeks? Bizman she'ata mascha limanas meberev. When you start counting right away in the evening. It's interesting there's a whole shaila about counting the second night. Because when you count the second night, it's a little bit of a tarte desasre. Because in Kiddush, on the second night, we're making a shechianu. So we're treating it like the first night. We count Svira, we treat it like the second night. That's why some people count Svira only after the Seder. So that way, it's not so much of a tarte desasre. Of course, the minig ha'olam is not to do that. Because if you count after the Seder, it's not Tamimos. You want to count all the way in the beginning of the day, that should be Tamimos. By the way, there are those that say that the song, the song Echad Miyodeya, was created to remind people to count Hayom Yom Echad La'omer. And that's why they sing the song Echad Miyodeya.
Why does the Gemara assume that a perfect week has to be a week that starts on
Not work, a perfect day.
week, no?
Huh?
Shabbat Shabbos is...
Well, a perfect week means...
It's on Wednesday and then on Tuesday. You do a whole week.
No. But once, whatever it is, it's in the beginning of the night.
Didn't the Gemara say I would...
No, you're mixing things up. Now we just want to know how you know that it's in the beginning of the night. Maybe it should be in the day.
And you won't have it complete.
It won't be complete. Says the Gemara, when is it complete? Bizman she'ata maschel limanis be'erev, when you start counting from the night. Yochel yiktza v'yavi v'yisper b'layla. I might think we should harvest, bring it, and also count in the night, meaning we should bring the Omer also in the night. No, the bringing of the Omer has to be in the day. Ha-ketzad, k'tzira usvira b'layla. The hachal chemish become usfartem. When the sickle starts, you count. That tells you that the harvesting and the counting, which has to be tmimis, is in the night. V'ava b'yoyim, and the bringing it is in the day because it says miyoyim aviyachem. Okay, now the Gemara starts getting tricky. Now the Gemara says, we brought a lot of proofs that Svira should start on the day after the first day of Yom Tov, the 16th, and not on the first Sunday. So now the Gemara tells us that some of these proofs can be refuted. Some of these proofs can be pushed aside. This is a little bit of a terse Gemara. Amarava, Kulu Islu Pircha. All of these proofs have a refutation. Bar mitarte tanoi basroi, except for the two tanoim, the two latter tanoim, bein b'masnisa, both in the Mishnah that was quoted, bein b'masnisa kamaisa, the first Mishnah that was quoted, bein b'masnisa batraisa, and the latter brisa, the leslu pircha. The last two have no refutation. They are the knockout blow to the baitusim. Imid Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, that he says, well, the pasuk says count 50 days, and it also says count 7 weeks. So he says sometimes it's 7 whole weeks from Sunday, and sometimes it's 50 days from the middle of the week. It's not always from Sunday. He says that's not a proof. Maybe it just says that both 50 and weeks to tell you that you have to count days and you have to count weeks like we do. It's a mitzvah to count days, a mitzvah lemimnei shavuah. It's a mitzvah to count weeks.
Who's refuting? Tusa?
Rava is saying that there are refutations.
Well, is he saying this to the Tusa?
No, he's not saying to the Baitusim. He's just telling us.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Imid Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yeshua, if it's from Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yeshua, each one who said that the count is a count. Rabbi Eliezer is the one that says, it says Tispa Lach, that it has to be a count that's determined by Bezdin. Not from Shabbos, because Shabbos you don't need Bezdin, right? Because Bezdin determines the day of the month with the Kiddush HaChodesh. But Shabbos is Amud V'Koi for Ma'aseh Bereishis. So Imid Rabbi Eliezer, that's Rabbi Eliezer who learns it from Tispa Lach. And if it's Rabbi Yeshua who says that, which one is Rabbi Yeshua? So I said this is terse. Which one is Rabbi Yeshua? Rabbi Yeshua says that it has to be. He says you count days and you count months. Just like when you count the month of the Rosh Chodesh, you know it's Nikr from the beginning, right? Because you see when the moon starts its new cycle. So also it has to be clear that it's from the beginning of Yom Tov, meaning the day after the first day of Yom Tov. Says the Gemara, both of these proofs are not proofs, because although it Tispa Lach tells you that it has to be after a day of Yom Tov, but it could be maybe that we start Sfira after Shvi Shel Pesach, the last day of Yom Tov. Midmai de Yom Tov Rishon Kai, Dilma be Yom Tov Achron Kai. And that's true also according to Rabbi Yeshua. He says it has to be like the beginning of the month, which is noticeable. After Shvi Shel Pesach will also be noticeable. However, Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira less lu pircha. Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, who learn it out, Rabbi Yishmael learns it out from comparing it to Shavuos. Right? What does Rabbi Yishmael say? Rabbi Yishmael says that let's get the names here. Which one is Rabbi Yishmael?
The middle of the page.
What?
In the middle. Yishmael אומר אמר תורה הווה עומד פסח. תראה מסוף.
Why am I not finding Rabbi Yishmael? How many lines is it from the top?
Some hand and bet in the middle.
Oh, right? Rabbi Shmuel says that bring the Eimer on Pesach and the Shtei Alechem on the Atzeres. He doesn't need the Gzeir Shava. He just makes a binyan av from Pesach to Shavuos, just like on Shavuos, it's on Shavuos and the beginning of Yom Tov. So here also it's on Pesach and the beginning of Pesach. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira does the same thing, except that he learns it out of Gzeir Shava Shabbos. So those don't have any refutation. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira and Rabbi Shmuel does not have any reputation. Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira less lu pircha. Now, Imid Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Now this is what we started off tonight with. That he says that if it's from the 16th of Nisan, so that's always the 50th day. But if it's from Menachos Shabbos, it's not always the 50th day from the 16th of Nisan. So the Gemara says, yeah, but maybe it doesn't mean the 50th day from the 16th of Nisan. It means the 50th day from Sunday. Of any of those 6 days. And Imid Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, that's Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira again learns it out from Tispa Loch, and he says it's dependent upon Bezdin and not on Shabbos, but then how do you know it's the first day of Yom Tov? Maybe it's the last day of Yom Tov. Memai be Yom Tov Rishon Kai, Dom Yom Tov Achron Kai. Rabbi Yossi Nami, what was Rabbi Yossi's pshat? Yeah, says the Gemara, and Rabbi Yossi himself, Nami Chazi Le Pircha. Rabbi Yossi himself saw this kasha, and therefore V'hainu Du Kama V'Oid. That's why he added another proof. Gufa, we said Amar Abaya mitzvah lemimnei yaimei, mitzvah lemimnei shvuei. It's a mitzvah to count days, and it's a mitzvah to count weeks. However, Rabbanan Dvei Rav Menashe, not however, Rabbanan Dvei Rav Ashi, the Rabbanan of the Academy of Ashi, that's what they did. Manu yaimei or manu shvuei, like we do, right? Hayom esrim yaim, shehem shnei shavuos, v'shisha yamim laimer. Ameimer manu yaimei v'loy manu shvuei. Ameimer counted days and not weeks. He said because today the mitzvah of Omer is only Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash HaYakayim. Today it's only Zeicha L'Churban. And since it's only Zeicha L'Churban, it's enough to count days. Omer Zeicha L'Mikdashu, and therefore you don't have to count the weeks.
So why do we count them?
Because we don't hold like him. We hold like the Rabban Debei Rav Ashi. Now,
What's the reason to divide it because it's Zecher L'Mikdash?
what?
What's the reason to count the days and drop the weeks? Because what's the Zecher L'Mikdash over here?
The fact of the matter is, he says that since it's not really the mitzvah of the Omer, so you don't have to do that precise procedure. You don't have to. Now, Kitzaruhu, they harvested the Omer, unesanuhu bekupos. They put it in baskets. Heviu lazara, they brought it to the temple courtyard. Vayamahavim v'maisai ba'ar, they toasted it over the fire. K'dei l'kayim by mitzvahs koli, that it should be toasted grains, toasted kernels. Divrei Meir. The Chachamim say that's not the procedure. The Chachamim aimrim b'kanim b'kalachais chayftin, I say. First they took reeds and stalks and they beat it. And they did it with soft stuff, K'dei shelo yismaich, that it shouldn't get crushed. Then the sanu la'abav, they put it into a lead pipe, a copper pipe, not a lead pipe. The sanu la'abav, they put it into a copper pipe, and the abav hayamanukav, that's why abav is also a flute, because this lead pipe was perforated, K'dei, in order that that the fire should toast it all inside. Then, after they did it, shtachu ba'azaris, they lied it out to dry in the temple courtyard. Varuach bin Hasheves, by the wind blows it to get out the moisture. Then the sanua l'rechaim shel garosais, they put it into a mill of beans. V'itziu mimenu yisaron, and they extracted it from it a tenth of an ephah, shu manufa b'shloish esrei nafa. It was sifted with 13 sieves. Now, what was left, v'ashar nipta v'nechel l'chol adam. What was left was able to be redeemed and eaten by everyone. V'chayev b'chala. It's chayev because now it's theirs, and it's reishis arisei seichem, and you have to take chala. But upotem in a meiser. But they don't have to take meiser. Why? Because when it was smoothed, in the pile, it belonged to Hekdesh. And Hekdesh is Patim and Amaisa. Rabbi Kiva surprises us. Rabbi Kiva Mechaya B'chala Ubemaisus. Now that's a big mystery. Why does Rabbi Kiva hold that it's Chayiv and Meiser? So the Gemara is going to say that it's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, very interesting opinion, that the dedication was only for the final tenth. And therefore everything else was never Hekdesh, and therefore when it was smoothed out, it wasn't property of Hekdesh, and therefore it's Chayiv and Meiser. Tan Rabbanan, Aviv, Ze Aviv. That means the very first to ripen. Kolui be'esh, toasted in fire. Melamed shoyu Yisrael mahava v'noisei be'esh. They toasted it over the fire. Kedei l'kayim mitzvahs koli. That's the first opinion in our Mishnah. Div Rameya. That's the opinion of Rameya. The Chachamim Oimrim ein ar lashon koli. When it says ar, when it says koli, it doesn't mean over the fire. Eladavar achar. Now what does that mean? What does it mean? It's something else. We'll see that it means that it should be with something kolul, something shiny. Meaning that you put it in a shiny copper pipe. Ein lashon koli eladavar kolul. It means a shiny copper pipe. Haketzad. Above shel kloyes hayasham, a pipe of toasting grain was there. Vayemenukav kekivra, it was perforated like a sieve. Kedei sheteah or shaletas bekulai. Now the pasuk says ovuv koli geres. Ovuv koli, the ripened ones should be toasted. And geres means coarse flour. Now the question is, do you toast it when it's coarse flour, or do you toast it when it's kernels? Ein yodeh im ovuv koli, that you should toast it when it's first ripe. Im geres koli, or you should toast it after you ground it into flour. Kishu oimer be'esh, the be'esh is mafsik, hifsik inyan, and it tells you should toast it when it's aviv, when it's in the kernel stage. Now it says caramel. Now here the Gemara is going to tell us how we take words and we break them up etymologically and explain them. So caramel means, we could turn around the letters too. So kar is rach umo. It should be soft and malleable. Should be able to be so soft that you could crush it. Now, where do we find that we take apart words this way? V'cheinu Omer, at a time of great famine, v'ish ba mebal shalisha, a man came from Baal Shalisha, v'yave leisha alikim, and he gave to the man of God, El Shalisha, lechem bikurim, the ripe bread, esrim lechem sa'irim, 20 loaves of barley. The caramel, it was fresh and soft. Bitzikloinai, it was still in its shell. And we darshan bitzikloinai, vayomer, and Elisha said, Teim v'ambi yachelu, give it to the people and they should eat it. And it was enough for everybody. Now we take this pasuk, this word bitzikloinai, and we take it apart. Ba, come, or he came, v'yatzek lanu, and he poured the food to us, v'achalnu, we ate it, v'novahoya, and it was good. And that's all in the word sikloinoi. V'aymer, here Shlomo HaMelech was rebuking the people for sinning with promiscuity. Nis'alsa ba'ahavim. You enjoyed yourself with love. So the word nis'alsa, we take the nun and the saf, nisa v'nitain, you had a foreplay, v'nala, and then you went on the bed, v'nismach, and you rejoiced, v'nischate ba'ahavim, and sinned with love. V'aymer knaf rinonim nelosa. The wings of the giant rinonim bird, some learn it's a peacock, nelosa. Now, the Gemara explains nelosa to be a corruption of nose, it carries its egg, ola brings it up, v'nischata, and deposits it into its nest. Now this next one is the donkey of Bilim. Ki yorad haderech lenegdi, because you are hurrying opposite me. That's the angel. The Gemara tells us that the donkey said, Yorat, Yorasa, I was afraid. That means that the donkey sensed the angel even before he saw it. This is really making fun of Bilam. Not only didn't Bilam see it, the great Navi didn't sense it. Well, while the donkey sensed it, he was afraid. Rasa, and then not so he turned away that he shouldn't bang into the malach with the sword. The Rabbi Yishmael Tana, the Academy of Yishmael teaches that the word caramel means something else. It's like a full pillow. It's like a full pillow. Kar is a pillow, mol is mole. In other words, it's so ripe that the kernel filled the husk, like a caramel, like a full pillow. Now we go to the next part of the Mishnah. Rabbi Akiva mechayiv bechalo b'maisris. Rabbi Akiva says that the rest of the isarin, which is not used and it's redeemed, the ones that bring it, they have to take challah. That's obvious because they make it into a dough, so it's theirs when it becomes reishis ariyos seichem. But they have to bring meiser. Now that's puzzling. Why do they have to bring meiser? At the time that it becomes chayv and meiser when it's smoothed in the pile. And when it was smooth in the pile, it was a rishus of hektish. Hektish is patim and a meiser. So Rav Kahana makes a suggestion which the Gemara is going to show is wrong. But Amar Rav Kahana, Omer Hoyer Rabbi Akiva, me ruach hektish ein a paiter. That when hektish smooths it out, it doesn't pater it for meiser. Says the Gemara, what? Most of Rav Sheshes, meiser shlois sa and halalu me'aya oisim boy. We said that they harvested 3 sa. What was done with the rest of the 3 sa besides the 10th that they used for the Eimer? Nipte v'nechol l'kol adam. It was redeemed and eaten by all people. V'chayev b'chala upatim and amaisus. It's chayev and chala, but it's patim and amaisus. Rabbi Kiva mechayev b'chala ubamaisus. Amru loi, so they said to him, how could you say it's chayev and amaisus? Poider megad gizbar yachich. Any time when you redeem grain from the gizbar, will disprove you. Any time that you redeem grain from a temple treasury, shechayev b'chala patim and amaisus. So you see that the miruach of Hegdish is part of Hamaisris. V'im Isa, the Meruach ain't a paiter. Now, what kind of kasha is that on Rabbi Kiva? If Rabbi Kiva is of the opinion that Meruach of Hegdish doesn't exempt, then what are you asking him from all other cases? My Carmelite, what are you asking him from other cases? He would hold that anything that you redeem from the Gizbar would also not need to have Meiser, if the Meruach is patim and a hektish. V'oid, Eisvei Rav Kahana bar Tachlifel Rav Kahana, Rabbi Kiva mechayev b'chala uba meises. Rabbi Kiva says you're chayev in chala and in meiser. Why? You know why? Because when they gave the money of the machzis hashekel from the trumas halishka to buy the flour, they only gave the money for a 10th. Only for what was needed. Everything else was never hegdish. Ela Amar Rabbi Yochanan Talmud Arachu B'Fiv Shel Rabbi Akiva. This is a laid out teaching of Rabbi Akiva, that the reason why the remainder is chayiv and meiser is because the remainder never was dedicated to Hekdesh. Shaloi nitna ma'is el tzarich lahen. Amar Rava, pshitali, it's obvious to me, the meruach Hekdesh pater, that when Hekdesh smooths it out, it's pater. V'afiru Rabbi Kiva loy b'chayiv chasam, and the only reason why Rabbi Kiva says that the remainder is chayiv in meiser, because the money that was given to buy it was only for what was necessary, the final tenth. But the normal smoothing out of Hekdesh is pater. And therefore, if Hekdesh bought grain and they smoothed it out and then they go and they want to sell it, the buyer is going to be chayiv and challah, but he's going to be pater and meiser. Now, tomorrow, we're going to have a question about what about the smoothing out of a guy. If when it was in the rishus of a guy and he piles it up and he smooths it, if that exempts it from meiser or not, that's a machlokes tanaim that we're going to learn and discuss tomorrow.